Democracy is thought, but it is thought related to life and action. Thomas Mann gave this definition in his talk on the coming victory of democracy in 1938. In his opinion, it is the characteristic friendliness of democracy to intellect and also to the arts, to literature, which qualifies the concept of intellectual life for a definition of democracy. This concept has to be directed toward life and action. For only that, and specifically that, is the democratic spirit. While for Thomas Mann, the democratic character of thinking is realized when acting, Hannah Arendt focuses on thinking as a form of dialogue. Both assume that thinking has to do with moral considerations, knowing what is good and what is evil, in the words of Mann, and telling right from wrong, in the words of Arendt. Therefore, everybody has the ability to think. But Hannah Arendt perceives the dialogue on which thinking, in her view, is based as the decisive democratic value. Understanding democracy as a process of thinking then means that democracy is founded upon the potential of every person to reflect, to judge, to confront an argument with a counter-argument, and to exchange different perspectives with others in public. In this sense, I'm using the idea of democracy as thought when speaking to you today from Thomas Mann's study. Thomas Mann believed that democracy would succeed in the long run. Why was he so sure of that? At a time when democracy had lost in Germany, he said, "I'm relating democracy to the inalienable dignity of mankind, which no force, however humiliating, can destroy." He did not declare his faith in the coming victory of democracy out of optimism. He named conditions that have to be fulfilled for this victory. With his reflections on the conditions of democracy, he calls on us to constantly be aware of what is going wrong in the development of democracy. Let's embrace this call. What is missing in democracies of the 21st century? Since a decade, we observe in representative democracies in Europe and in the United States of America that a growing segment of the population is not only losing trust in political elites, but generally in democratic institutions. Losing trust into democratic governance means that people are more and more frightened of the future. An increasing economic inequality makes social cohesion fragile. Societies are becoming polarized because citizens of different social strata and different cultural and political belongings do not communicate with each other anymore. Social media intensify this trend. However, connections across differences are essential for the vitality of democracy. How can we explain this erosion? It is my thesis that representative democracies are in a critical situation because political elites have underestimated the importance of a dialogue with citizens for creating the cultural foundations of democracy like trust, and have neglected the relationship between these foundations and economic and social conditions. To explain what is happening, we must look at the long-term development. Democratic governments in European countries as well as in the United States reacted to the process of globalization in the 70s of the last century by deregulating the economy. These decisions have given globalization a certain direction, shaped by an unequal distribution of goods, services, capital, technical and scientific achievements. Growing economic inequality, especially inequality of wealth, social insecurity for ever larger segments of the population, and polarization of the public discourse didn't come out of the blue. Rather, democratically elected governments established with their policies structures that limited the capacity of societies for acting and learning. It will be difficult to change these structures. As a way out, political elites have chosen to downplay the problems. They avoided to publicly debate the vexing issues of disappearing trust and social cohesion. This only increased the problems. What can be done? Two major reform projects are necessary for the regeneration of democracy. On the one hand, we must find ways to intensify the debate between citizens and political elites. On the other hand, we need effective national, European, and international policies to tackle the unacceptable degree of inequality within and between nation states. I will limit myself to discussing the first reform. In order to enhance the influence of citizens on politics, in order to empower the people, new forms of participation have been established all over Europe and in the United States. Citizens chosen by lot and representing the diversity of society develop on the basis of an informed discussion proposals for the solution of political problems and conflicts. Such citizens' assemblies are practiced on local, national, and transnational levels. An example is the Conference on the Future of Europe. This conference presented its recommendations on 9th of May 2022 and gives insights into the working of citizens' assemblies. At the beginning of this conference, citizens got a phone call. Some of them believed that this was a joke. How on earth should they make recommendations for Europe's future? On 3 weekends, 800 citizens from 27 member states of the European Union discussed in 4 panels with 200 citizens each about policies in the fields of climate change, health, economy and social justice, digitalization, migration, culture and education, and European democracy. A third of the members of the panels were young people between 16 and 25 years. I had the chance to be an observer of the second panel on European democracy, values and rights, rule of law and security. The quality of the debates was impressive. Citizens were analyzing complex problems and could access expert knowledge when necessary. They were listening to each other, respecting different views, working on compromises, and struggling to find the right wording and the correct translation. One must not forget that the European Union has 24 official languages. Subsequent to the panels, there have been plenaries and working groups in which citizens discussed with politicians. And here again, citizens showed communicative competence. Once politicians changed their proposals beyond recognition, they protested. This exchange between citizens and elected representatives was the real novelty of the conference. It is an approach that can help to strengthen representative democracy by citizens' deliberation. At the end of the conference, 49 proposals were on the table. It will be decisive for the success of the conference that the proposals are implemented. Once you ask citizens, you must take their answers seriously. Yet, the conference has already now an important impact on European politics. Some of the proposals can be realized on the basis of the existing treaties, while others, like the introduction of the majority principle in European foreign policy, would need treaty changes. Thus, an overdue public debate about treaty changes and a new start of Europe with the Convention has been put on the agenda by citizens. The political elites, in contrast, have avoided such a debate all the time and preferred to change European governance by non-transparent ad hoc policies. Thanks to the convincing proposals of the citizens, this will be not so easy anymore. The Conference on the Future of Europe has activated the democratic value of thinking understood as discourse. New forms of citizens' participation will not reduce economic inequality, but citizens' assemblies could start a process in which political elites are becoming aware of the political costs of inequality. Citizens' assemblies are opening up public spaces in which the much needed dialogue between citizens and politicians can take place, in which people from different cultures and social strata get connected and trust in democratic institutions is regained. This is why citizens' assemblies are a crucial step on the long way towards a revival of democracy. Thank you.